We have very good reasons for defining validity the way that we do. But there is something weird that happens out of those definitions that we need to at least remark on before we leave our study of deductive logic behind. And that happens in this example. Here we have an argument that goes, the store is both open and closed. Therefore, it will rain on Saturday. Now this argument looks bad. It's obviously dumb. But it turns out that it is valid, though not sound. Our simple statements are, the store is open and it rains on Saturday. We have just one premise, which is the store is both open and closed. In other words, P and not P. And then our conclusion is this totally unrelated statement, it rains on Saturday. Look what happens when we make a truth table. So we'll compute not P. That's just the opposite of P. Opposite of true is false. Opposite of true is false. Opposite of false is true. Opposite of false is true. But then to compute P and not P, we'll need to look at the not P column and the P column. And the conjunction is only true when both of those are true at the same time. And we can see that that never happens. We have a row where P is true and not P is false. So their conjunction is false. A row where P is true and not P is false again. And then we have rows where P is false and not P is true. Either way, their conjunction is false. And then Q, we'll just copy the Q column to make it easier to look at what we have here. The argument is valid if the conclusion is true whenever the premises are true. So, to determine whether the argument is valid, we would highlight all of the rows where the premises are true, and we would look to see if the conclusion is also true. But we did that. There are no rows where the premise is true. This premise is never true. Remember, we call a statement like that a contradiction. So, since the premises are never true, there's never a case where the premises are true and the conclusion is false. So this argument is valid, but we feel weird about that. We don't like that this argument is valid. There's another very similar thing that can happen that we also don't like. Consider this argument. It is sunny outside. Therefore, it will either rain or not rain tomorrow. Our simple statements are, it's sunny out, and it will rain tomorrow. Our one premise is just the simple statement P, and our conclusion is that either it will rain tomorrow, so either Q is true, or it won't rain tomorrow, so not Q is true. In order to analyze this, we'll need a not Q column. That's just the opposite of whatever is in the Q column. And then for our premise, we'll just copy the P column. That's true, true, false, false. And our conclusion is Q or not Q. So Q or not Q, we'll look at the Q column and the not Q column. The or is going to be true as long as at least one of them is true. So here Q is true, the or is true. Not Q is true, the or is true. Q is true, the or is true. not Q is true. The or is still true. Is this argument valid? Well, yeah. Here are the rows where the premise is true. So, a valid argument, that means the conclusion has to be true whenever the premises are true. And that is the case here, but you know, the conclusion is true regardless. The conclusion is always true. Remember, we call a statement like that a tautology. So again, this argument is valid, but we feel weird about saying that. We have a name for arguments like this that are valid, but we feel weird about them. They're called vacuous. An argument is vacuous if it's valid, but only because it's cheating on the definition of validity. So it's vacuous if the premises are never all true, possibly because one is a contradiction, or maybe just because they can't all be true at the same time. It's also vacuous if the conclusion is always true. So if the conclusion is a tautology. It should be noted that an argument of this kind, where the premises are never all true, that form can never be sound. You can never have an argument with one of those forms with the premises all true, because the premises, by their form, can't all be true. The vacuous argument where the conclusion is a tautology, well, I mean, that can be sound if it happens that the premises are true, but also the premises just really don't matter. So the thing about these vacuous arguments is they are valid, but their validity doesn't really get us anywhere. So this is something to be aware of that happens because of our definition of validity. And certainly vacuous arguments are something to be on the lookout for in real life. Although, of course, in real life, they're almost always much more cleverly hidden.